James,
Morning, Dave.
morning. Welcome to On to Headquarters.
Thank you very much.
How are you, my man?
I'm all good. Yeah, all good. Feeling fresh and yeah, busy couple of days and work meetings and stuff. But yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Awesome. Listen, this is the first time I've done a client interview with On2. So do you want to just kind of introduce yourself first and foremost?
Yeah. So James Turnbull, 42 years old, wife, two girls, 12 and 10. Dog, Harley, who's a beast, but good fun. I work in sales. So I work for a golf brand, regional sales manager and key account manager.
Top man. And, we all started working together, I think, back in December.
Yeah.
So take me back to December, and what was JT like back then?
So what was JT like? Frustrated. So I think that's probably a good word for it. I was successful career, happy family. I think a lot of great things in my life, and I've got nothing really to complain about. But internally, frustrated is a good word, and I just wanted to get more from myself. Overweight, lack of exercise, lack of energy, and yeah, just outwardly, I think people would look at me as a happy-go-lucky, friendly, chatty person. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't in a dark place or anything, but just wanted more really.
Yeah. And how was that frustration kind of showing up for you back then?
I think we chatted a lot over, obviously, the last 6 months about different things, and through our conversations, it's allowed me to kind of recognize what it was that I was feeling back then. And even in preparation for today, it's, I've kind of been able to explore a few things again. Yeah. And really, when I look back, it was a bit of a lack of motivation for myself. I would not have a lot of energy to get up and go and do different things and different challenges. Life was Groundhog Day is probably a good way of describing it. I travel some great places. I have some great holidays. I've got a lovely house, but it was very much samey. And I just wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't pushing myself. So in the past, I've done events, but I'm either all in or nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm very conscious that I wanted to be all in all the time.
Yeah.
And that's really why I kind of came to, reached out to you. Obviously, having known you for a long time, to try and find that spark, really.
That's amazing, mate. And I'm really curious about this, but what was the point that you decided, yes, I'm going to take some action here, I'm going to make a change? Was there a specific trigger point, or?
So I'd say throughout last year, last year I was really kind of focused that I wanted to do something.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I need to make a change. I need to feel better in myself. And I think it was September last year, I joined the gym. Yeah. So I was going to the gym a couple of times a week. But I wasn't really seeing huge results. I wasn't really kind of, I was enjoying going. I was socializing at the gym. I was going with a mate, which was great. But I wasn't really achieving a lot. And I knew what you were doing because we've had conversations about it in the past, but I actually watched a podcast that you did with Adam and Adam, I think it was.
Yeah, might have even been in this very room, actually.
Right, okay, yeah. And I remember watching it and just something just clicked. I was like, yeah, I need to talk to Dave about this. Yeah. And I think I've reached out. I think I sent you a message and said, I'd love to have a chat. And didn't know what it was going to be about. Was completely an open book with it. And I think that was always the best way to approach things. And I think from that very first moment when we sat down and had a coffee on the M62 somewhere, an hour's chat, 3 hours later, I was kind of clear in my mind that where I wanted to kind of push forward with this, and what I wanted to achieve. Yeah.
Man, you've took full responsibility and full accountability for everything that you've been through over the past 6 months. Sometimes it's difficult to put into words what shifts you make
Mm-hmm.
when you do sort of transform who you are or your habits. Can you just, in your words, kind of explain a little bit what you've been through?
Yeah. So I think the main thing for me initially was I had to become more selfish.
Yeah.
I had to look at myself, and by becoming more selfish, I have become better for others.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the hardest thing. It was walking in from work, putting my bag down, putting my gym kit on, putting my running kit on. There was stress in the house, but I was just like, I'm going out for a run. And that's what it was to begin with.
Yeah.
So I really had to look at myself, and by guidance and talking through these things, I kind of knew that the end result would be better for everybody, not just for me. But I really had to kind of dig deep, and that was a lot on the physical side of things, a lot on the training. But one of the big things that I kind of had to improve was my sleep, because that had been poor for quite a sustained period of time. I've always been a bit of an overthinker. I've always catastrophized things. I've always made more out of something, at home and at work. And I kind of needed to get that rebalance of stuff. So, I would take myself off to bed. I would, okay, I'm going to bed now. This is me. So I was quite selfish in some ways. I'm not sure that people would look at me and say they saw me as being selfish, but that's how I kind of felt. But yeah, that just allowed me to really push forward with a lot of things now.
And I think, a lot of your transformation has been physical, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that meeting that we had on the M62, and you are a different person physically, mentally and emotionally, I think, since we met. How's that physical transformation impacted on other areas of your life in terms of your emotional well-being, your mental health? Can you?
I think a lot of it is confidence.
Yeah.
I think confidence in how I look. I've always, over the years, I've been up and down with my physical exercises. Like I say, I was either kind of all in or not at all. So I'd have periods of 6-12 months where I would be running a lot, and then I'd stop. I'd train up to an event, and I know we've talked about this, and you've talked about this in your past.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I'm going to run that half marathon. Run the half marathon, but then don't have a plan of what I'm going to do next. So for me, the physical change is the good thing is, and we were just chatting earlier, even kind of yesterday when I've seen people that I've not seen for a long time, they're kind of like, my God, you look so different, and like open mouthed almost.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel great. It gives me a buzz, because I'm waking up now and not kind of looking in the mirror and feeling, I'm energized by it. So the physical side of it in terms of how I look is great, but obviously you can look great, but maybe not feel physically fit. So for me, I've done fatty diets in the past. I've done these kind of things where it's driven my weight down, but I've got no energy. So, focusing on steps, one of the simplest changes I made was counting my steps every day. And I did that from the day that we kind of first met in December to chat about it, and every day I've hit that step count, and it's like a non-negotiable. Okay, if it's midnight, 11:30 at night, and I've got another 500 to do, walking around the house or whatever.
I love that.
But is it an obsession? Yeah, it probably is now. Because I've got to achieve that. But that's just allowed me to push on. So I know that in the background, I've always got those things that are just driving me to sustain this now, as opposed to it being a kind of fad thing that comes and goes.
Awesome, man. And I think, one of the things that we've spoken about, and I speak about quite a lot, is a relationship with alcohol as well, and the role that plays in our lives, and played a role in my life for many years, obviously. Do you want to just kind of touch on that a little bit in terms of your relationship with alcohol? What was that like? How it changed? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you use the phrase a lot, and a middle lane drinker. By no means had a problem with alcohol, but I've grown up with alcohol in my life since I was 16, 17, 18 years old. Socially, I enjoy a drink. I'm not going to say I enjoyed a drink. I may do in the future, but Friday night, couple of beers. Saturday, couple of beers, glasses of wine. Went away with friends on holidays, things like that. But I was getting worse at it. I used to be really good at it, but I was just kind of coming to that point. Probably when we met, where I was just like, a couple of beers, and I'd feel the effects of a couple of drinks the next morning. Not in terms of like hungover, but low energy. So when we sat down and chatted, I don't think I had in my mind that I was going to give alcohol a break. It wasn't something that I was coming to you for. I wasn't coming to you going, Dave, I want to stop drinking. But it just seemed natural to form a part of what I was trying to achieve. So typical thing, I drank right up until the 31st of December. And then 1st of January said, right, I'm doing dry January.
Yeah.
And I think coupled with everything else that I've been doing physically and things, I now don't want alcohol to hold me back in any of those, any of the momentum that I've got in other areas. So yeah, I haven't had a drink since January. I'm not since December. I'm not saying I'm never going to drink again, but at this moment in time, I'm kind of seeing the benefits of it so much that I don't need it. And I think that's the thing, alcohol-free beers. I was sat in a bar in Manchester last night drinking Guinness Zero, and it's, but it sparks so many conversations, and it's really interesting, and some of the conversations I enjoy, some of them I probably don't, but a lot of people get it. I think once you kind of talk to people about it, a lot of people get it, and I think some people, probably because I've stopped drinking, they've told me they've reduced what they're drinking because they're seeing the benefits that I'm reaping from it. So, but it's just a part of it. It's not a focus. It's just a part of it.
Yeah, it's part of the bigger picture, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that the conversation around alcohol, with guys our age, we're the 80s kids, right? It forms part of it's a social movement, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of those conversations that you've had then, some of the ones that you say have been enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like what's the content of those conversations been
like? I think ultimately it's that kind of realization of, I will sit here and admit, and we probably had conversations when we've met in the last couple of years, and I'm like, really, Dave, you're not drinking? Do you not want a drink? Do you not fancy a drink? And not really understood it and what you were doing, and your kind of change to your relationship with alcohol, and now when I talk to people about it, some people just think you have to have a drink to enjoy yourself. I think I'm a better person when I'm out. I'm more chatty. I'm more present. I'm not kind of going, right, where's the next beer? Who's got in the bar next? Not looking at the bar thinking, it's packed. It's going to take me ages. I better get two while I'm there, So it just allows me to have better conversations with people. But yeah, like I say, some people get it, some people don't. And I'm not judgmental on people that don't get it. It's how everyone wants to be. I'm not preaching removing alcohol. I'm just telling people what it's done for me, and the benefits that I've seen. And I think from that, one of my best friends from Bristol, he's done the same, and we met up the other weekend, and, it would 100%, we would have been beers, wine, gin, neither of us. It was completely coincidental. He didn't know I'd stopped drinking. I didn't know he'd stopped drinking at the start of the year, and it was great. And we had lots of different conversations about our experiences of not drinking and different situations we've been in, where we've been expected to have a drink. And it's how you work through them, and yeah, it's been a change that I didn't expect to happen. That's been one of the biggest ones, definitely.
And physically, you are flying, right? You've been consistent, not just with the basics, but you're moving into performance, really, aren't you? In terms of where you're at. Talk to you about that decision. You've made a decision around an event that you're doing in October, right? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I think again, when we sat in December, the focus was, part of the focus was to lose some weight, to feel better, to feel better about myself. And I think you sent me some gym plans to work through that I could do at home. And when I'd go into these kind of things, I do become a bit obsessive. Okay, those are the 3 sessions that Dave set me. I'm doing them, and I kind of quickly wanted to start running again because I've always enjoyed running. I think it's an easy thing to do, but I've always had these. I live in a little village. In the winter, you need your light on and things like that, and I was always like, I'm not gonna. It's difficult to run in the winter because I have to. It's dangerous with the roads. It's not dangerous because there's hardly any cars. And actually, I remember, I think I sent you a picture once where I was like light on, head torch, everything, woolly hat, gloves. And I was like, how good is it running in the winter? And you were like, it's the best time to run because you can control your kind of temperature a little bit more. So, yeah, and I think we'd kind of banded that M word round a little bit. And I'd always convinced myself, I've done half marathons. I've never run any further and still haven't run any further than a half marathon. But always convinced myself that was my limit and that I couldn't do a marathon. Partly because physically, I have to work hard in terms of stretching and strength training on my legs and things because I seem to pick up injuries, which is frustrating. But I'd always kind of gone, that marathon just feels like too big a push. But you didn't put pressure on me, but I knew you were wanting me to commit to something. And I think it was like, okay, I need to commit myself now. I made the decision at the end of the day. And yeah, so I've signed up for a marathon in October. And I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait to get to the start line. It's almost like, if the start, I want it to be tomorrow. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the journey of training, but I could probably do it tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, and it's just great having something and an event to kind of focus on. I've got a training plan, but we talked a lot about surrounding yourself with people as well. So I'm kind of, I've got a personal trainer who's giving me some exercises to do. I've had a few niggles, so I've not ignored them. I've been to physio, so I'm working specifically on them. So, yeah, I'm not a marathon runner yet, but I'm getting there.
I cannot wait to see you flying around.
Yeah, and I've entered the ballot for the London. I know it's a 1 in a million chance. Well, not quite that. 20,000 in a million, I think it is. Someone said, but if I don't get in there, I'll do something. So. For me now, it's about consistency, and it's about being able to train within everything else that I've got going on in life as well, and prioritizing those, those moments. Last night away at sales conference, went out for a run, which was great because a lad from work, I said, "Come on, let's go out." So you have different conversations with different people. So I could have quite easily, I would have in years gone by, dumped the bag in the room, gone to the bar. Yeah. Or, it wouldn't have been go for a run. Yeah. It would have been socializing. But I was like, I did socialize last night, but I socialized on a run. Yeah. And then still had a great evening. Yeah. So it's picking those times and doing the right things for me now. Really.
Yeah. Mate, obviously we've coached on a lot of things, right? We've spoken today also about lifestyle habits. We've spoken about alcohol free. We've spoken about pushing into performance, and a lot of what we talk about inside of On2 is also mindset, right? How would you, if you could describe how your mindset is shifted, how would you articulate that?
How's the mindset shifted? Yeah, it's really not letting anything get in my way, recognizing weak points and focusing on them, and asking for help when it's needed. You know, I can't do all of this by myself. So my mindset has been very much around, don't push things away, don't push things to the side because you want, you know, it's going to take you out of your comfort zone. Don't ignore things. So head on into things more and face them. And I think in the past, I would have been someone who would have shied away from certain situations because I would have felt uncomfortable. So I've really kind of, my mindset now is to more face things, face challenges, you know, work and at home. Absolutely. You know, it's in all assets. It's not kind of one area that I'm having to do that. It's in everything. It's with doing the kids' homework, you know, and the relationships at home and things. And like I say, my mindset was very much selfish to begin with, to allow me to get to a place now where I feel like I can really help others and talk by talking about this with others. And I've seen that. I've had conversations with people, and then you see them a couple of months later and they're going, oh, you know, I've been doing 10,000 steps a day now. And people definitely come up to me and go, you know, what are you doing? What's changed? What's the thing? So I think my mindset now is much more positive. You know, I feel a lot more comfortable in all aspects of my life, and it's, I'm not scared of things. Scared is, I guess, is probably not quite the right word, but I'm not kind of fearful of tomorrow, or fearful of the next email, or fearful of the next conversation I'm going to have with someone. And you know, I'm just a much more positive person in my mindset.
And off camera earlier, we were talking about the kind of reaction or response from other people who've perhaps not seen you for a few months. How's that showing up?
It's great. I mean, it's a physical side of things, and you know, and I think, you know, we've talked about that. You know, ultimately, people initially can see the physical changes, and it gives you a buzz. You know, you walk into a room and, you know, people look at you like, some people haven't recognised you. I don't think. You know, and I've lost, I think, 17. Well, I don't think. I know I've lost 17 kilograms.
That's huge, man.
Yeah, and it is quite funny though, because you kind of get different reactions of, oh, you look too thin now. You're gonna stop, you know, and I'm like, well, I don't know, you know. And I think when we started, I had a target weight, and I got to that pretty quick, probably quicker than I expected. But now it's you know, it's more about the physical fitness. So I think my body's kind of finding its own kind of place, really. So I haven't got any kind of real specifics. I want to get to that weight. It's more, okay, this is the training I'm doing now. This is the eating that I'm doing. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it definitely sparks the conversations. And people, you know, will go, physically, I look different. How have you done that?
Yeah.
But I try and lead it on to a lot more and just go, well, yeah, I am eating better and I have stopped drinking, but it's because of this.
Yeah.
It's because of, this is why I'm doing it, as opposed to, I'm not just trying to look differently physically. But yeah, gasps of, like, one guy stood and looked at me and he's like, he was almost lost for words. He was like, what, how, what have you done? What, you know, you're different, you know, so, but yeah, it's good. It's a good feeling.
And listen, all credit to you, my man, for getting to where you currently are. How would you describe kind of working together on the coaching side of things with regards to the past 6 months?
And I'm not saying this, just saying this because you're here, Dave, but, you know, I've known you for a long time, but it's been life-changing. It really has. And it might sound like a cliche thing. This is not just for the cameras, you know. Having someone to support me. And when I was kind of writing some notes about this, I kind of used the word accountability, which is a big part of it, but never at any time have you sent me a message going, have you done this? Have you done that? It's not been about that. Yes, the accountability was a big part of it, but it's the support. It's having that virtually 24/7 WhatsApp support, and having the guidance and the expertise to, if something's presenting, if something I'm not sure around, send you a quick message, and just kind of point you in different directions. And that's really what, the coaching has been for me. It's very difficult to describe when people say, if I say, oh, okay, well, I'm working with a coach, they automatically think running, training, and I say, oh, well, it's more, life coaching. It's a bit of everything. And then you try and describe it, and I can't describe it in terms of what it is without describing what it's done for me. Yeah. I think that's the best way. That's the best way for it. So, I think, what you've created with the community of Onto as well, that's a huge thing. It really is, feel part of a community as opposed to, it's not just one-to-one. Mm-hmm. Now, we have less one-to-ones, but I get loads out of the group. Mm-hmm. And it's not anything complicated. It's simple posts of people have gone for a run, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'll go for a run. Yeah. Or, someone's done something or tried something else or pushed themselves that way. And it's, and I think that community feeling is, that you've got others around you that are kind of doing the same as what you're doing. And it gives you that kind of strong feeling for it, really.
And I think for you, this is just the start, isn't it? This isn't I think you used the word earlier, fad diets or fad programs with the training. This is sort of maintenance of a lifestyle. For you, right?
Yeah. I can't afford to go back now anyway. It's cost me a fortune in clothes already, so I can't afford to buy any more upper size. But
And if someone was kind of watching this, James, and just maybe on the fence a little bit about investing in themselves, what would your message be for them?
I think ultimately, you used the word there, investing, and you've got to look at what you want, and you've got to look deep into what you want to achieve from it. And like you say, mine was not just about physical. One of the things that we kind of not really touched on that much yet is, my relationship with my family. 42 years old, amazing wife, been married, 2 kids. Like you say, our family setup is awesome. But I needed to be a better husband and a better dad. I wanted to be more present. We've gone through a lot as a family, and we support each other, but I needed to be better. And I think that's one of the overriding things from all of this is, whatever came out of this, I wanted to be a better husband and a better dad. And probably the biggest, if the biggest feedback I've had from anyone, regardless of whether it's someone at work, someone I'm not seeing for a while, saying you look great, it is my kids turning around and going, Dad, you look great, or thanks for that, or and that, it's emotional thinking about it. But ultimately, you can have a job, you can have 2 great cars, and I've put this down before. You can have all the holidays you want. But I was getting frustrated at little things. I wasn't giving them, in my opinion, I wasn't giving them enough of my time. Now if I'm trying to get in a few steps at the end of the day, they'll come for a walk with me. So for me, it's about looking at, yes, there's the simple things you can look at. I want to get physically fit. I want to get a new role at work. I want to push myself further in my career. But your happiness and your happiness at home is everything. I think that's what kind of really drove me to. I didn't know that at the beginning. Yeah, I didn't know that I was coming to you for that, but that has been the biggest thing that's come out of it all. Yeah, and because I'm giving more at home, it just makes life a lot easier in other ways, you know, because I don't focus as much as on work or stress about work or get anxious about work as much, because I'm coming home and I'm helping the kids and I'm doing this, and you know, we're being more active as a family together. And so yeah, look at what you're wanting to achieve, but start from home. You know, start from home and kind of. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't sit here. Well, I wouldn't be sat here today if I didn't join up, because it's an on-to video. But you know, I wouldn't be sitting here feeling as I am, looking as I am, and as happy as I am if I hadn't invested in myself.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, man. I think it's the message that I'm hearing through all of that is you don't have to hit a rock bottom to invest in yourself, right? You just need to recognize that you want more. I want to turn up better for my wife, my missus, my kids, at work, in my relationships, for myself. And I think there's a preconception quite often that people have got to have a problem with alcohol or get to 20 stone or be absolutely on their arse before there's enough pain for them to change. It doesn't have to be like that at all. You know, you're an ambitious guy, mate. And when we met 6 months ago to chat about things, you were not on your ass at all. No. You just wanted to do more, right? Yeah. So
no, absolutely right. I think that's where, you know, people, if you say you stopped drinking, people think you had a drinking problem. You know, I didn't, but it's helped.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I was overweight, but I wasn't being told by the doctor to lose weight. Yeah. So I wasn't at rock bottom at all. I just needed to, you know, it's all about pushing those 1%, 2%. You know, it's all about getting that little bit better all the time. And you know, that's what, even now, I'm not finished. You know, okay, what's the next percent? What's, you know, how do I continue to keep getting better?
Yeah. And listen, I cannot wait, James, to see where you end up with all of this. And, you know, it's been a journey that you've been on. I thank you for everything that you've put in and the energy that you've brought to me and onto, and for turning up today and just being open and honest, mate. I can't wait to see where you go.
Pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right.
Top man.